Good morning. One of these mornings, I think I'm going to pull the old, was it romper room, where they look through the mirror and I see, yeah, maybe one of these times I'll do that, but not today. That just blew my mind. How did they know that I was sick? I was home from school that day when they would say my name. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because you're young. And if you do know what I'm talking about, it's because you're old. So in Numbers chapter 23, verse 19, it says, what he says he will do, he does. What he promises, he makes come true. God is not a liar. When God says something, he does it. You can take it to the bank. That's just one of the cool things. It might look like it's not going to happen. You know, he tells Abraham, yeah, you're going to be a dad. Ha, that's funny. But then it happens. All sorts of things that God says that, yeah, he stacks the deck against himself, but then it happens. So Jesus comes up to his disciples one time. It's in Mark chapter 4, verse 35, and he says, let's go over to the other side. So they get in the boat, they hop in, they're going along, and according to verse 37, there is a furious squall. There is a storm. So Jesus, of course, just gets up right then and quiets everything down. No, he doesn't. What I find amazing as waves are crashing over into the boat, and the boat's got to be big enough for like 12 people. So this isn't like a canoe, and it isn't just like a small rowboat. It's got to be a little bit bigger than that. So the disciples are kind of like, no, we need Jesus now. Jesus is asleep. What? How does he fall asleep? I mean, that is amazing that he's just able to sleep. And so in verse 38 they say, don't you care if we drown? And Jesus is like that. But you know what woke Jesus up? It wasn't the storm, it was human need. I remember hearing a brother preach on that a long, long time ago. It was at Missions Outreach. It was human need that woke Jesus up. You know, the same thing happens today. Human need will wake Jesus up. You just yell, say, hey, Jesus, I'm in trouble here. That'll wake up Jesus, so to speak. I'm not trying to be off theologically here. So Jesus wakes up, stands up, he commands the wind, the storm, the waves to be quiet. And then in verse 40, he looks at the disciples and says, do you still have no faith? I mean, they had to be like, Jesus, we were going to die and you didn't seem to care. Well, I'm picking this up from Max Lucado in his book, Glory Days. But here's the reason, because it's kind of like Jesus is scolding them, right? But let's go back to what Jesus said at the start. He says, let's go over to the other side. So if Jesus says to you, let's go wherever it is, fill in the blank, and you're halfway there and you're like, oh, this isn't going to work, everything's going wrong. Who told you to go there? If Jesus tells you to go there, you're going to get there. Think about that. When God promises something, when God says something, he doesn't forget and go, or he's not like us, like, oh, I didn't realize there was road construction. I didn't realize the flight was going to be delayed. God knows all of the details from the very beginning. How he's going to work it out, that's up to him. I had a friend, they're a missionary. They travel all over the world. And they got bumped from some plane and they had to spend all this time in this foreign country. They weren't planning on spending time there. And I just said, because this guy's more spiritual than I am, but I just said, you know, bro, you just wait a couple weeks and you're going to be looking back seeing, oh, that's why God had me stay here. I just gave him an advanced warning on that. And you know what? A couple weeks later, he's like, I really didn't want to get stuck here. But man, it was totally a God thing. So next time you think you're in the middle of the lake and you're about to drown, just remember, wake up Jesus. And every once in a while, Jesus might have a little something firm to say to us. But you know what it is? It's because we don't trust him. When we don't trust him, sometimes he's like, palms up, man. Really? Really? After all this time, you don't trust me? So the question is, are you going to focus on the crisis? Or are you going to focus on Christ? Are you going to focus on the winds and the waves? Are you going to focus on Jesus? Are you going to focus on the word that God has spoken to us? Or the water and the wind? The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Have a great week.